accept the overwhelming scientific consensus that these greenhouse gas emissions are the biggest drivers of man-made climate change?
Well, it's great to be on with you. First, it's worth pointing out that all 8 or so images that you just posted on the screen have nothing to do with this week's announcement. What was the 2009 endangerment finding had to do with was with regards to mobile sources vehicles. This week's proposal to rescind the 2009 endangerment finding was with regards to mobile sources vehicles. CNN's been using a lot of photos where they show smokestacks of stationary sources like power plants. That's not what we proposed. Now, going back to 2009, the science that they were reviewing included both optimistic to pessimistic scenarios. To reach the 2009 endangerment finding, they relied on the most pessimistic views of the science. The great news is that a lot of the pessimistic views of the science in 2009 that was being assumed ended up not panning out. Hey, that's great. We can rely on 2025 facts as opposed to 2009 bad assumptions. The other thing, too, is that at EPA, we don't just get to creatively make the law whatever we want it to be. The Supreme Court ruled in Loper Bright, overturning the Chevron doctrine, West Virginia versus EPA, Michigan versus EPA, that agencies like the EPA can't just use vague language in statute and try to make it be whatever we want it to be. The major policy doctrine also says that when you're going to reach something like an endangerment finding and then have trillions of dollars of regulation, that's something that should be decided by our elected members of Congress in passing statute.
Yeah, that was Lee Zeldin, Trump's EPA Secretary of Energy Policy Administration. I forget how to say the whole acronym, but guys get what I'm saying. Lee Zeldin checks CNN on their climate change propaganda. As you know from the intro, you guys know me. If you've been following my channel, if you're new to my channel, I am a very, climate skeptic, right? I think a lot of the climate science or whatever they call science is dramatized propaganda. I think it's over exaggerated. As you saw from the intro, Lee Zeldin broke it down like, hey, these people took the more pessimistic angle on the predictions and those predictions have not panned out, right? And that I can't use vague language to constitute, like, let's say, an electric mandate. Oh, we need to stop carbon emissions. There's no correlation between carbon emissions and global warming, right? And even if you were to make that correlation, all of the Earth, I think, we contribute less than 1% of the emissions, well under 1% of the emissions, right? And climate changers, they keep going over and over again, not realizing that past 100 years, if you look at all the predictions, these so-called climate experts, climate scientists, and even the term climate sciences is vague in of itself, because you'll find out a lot of these people, they don't work in a science that will actually give them authority to make claims about greenhouse effects or the effects of sunlight. It's like something like material scientist or something, but they'll consider that a climate scientist and put it as part. Oh, look at the climate consensus. I don't care what a bunch of biased people who are using these dramatic predictions and these dramatic claims to justify research funding, right? Like, this is my thing about these experts, is that I believe they have a own personal interest in making these dramatized predictions. For instance, I'm a native Floridian. I'm born and raised in Florida. All my life I've been in Florida. This is my state, right? I'm Florida boy till I die, right? I've been hearing all my life that Florida is going to be underwater, right? And it seems like this has been going on for 43 years. So here's a clip from CBS News by Dan Rather warning that if we don't stop digging up carbon and burning it, 25% of Florida will be underwater. This was broadcast 43 years ago.
Concern about rising temperatures on planet Earth heated up a hearing here in Washington today. For years, scientists have theorized about the dangers of the so-called greenhouse effect, the warming of the Earth's atmosphere due to the burning of coal and oil. And in recent months, as David Culhane reports, research has uncovered facts to support that theory.
Many scientists claim that the temperature of the Earth's atmosphere has been rising over the past 100 years, that the great sheets of pack ice in Antarctica are melting at a much more rapid rate than previously. And finally that the sea level has been rising with increasing swiftness over the past 40 years. If these scientists are correct, about 25% of Florida would be flooded, along with low-lying areas all over the world. Climate changes could produce widespread disruption of agriculture. The American farm belt might be too dry, and the wheat and corn crops would have to move to Canada. Scientists blame the odorless, colorless carbon dioxide gas for these potentially dangerous changes around the planet. It is the greenhouse effect. The gas allows sunlight to filter down and warm the earth. But like the glass of a greenhouse, the carbon dioxide tends to trap heat so that it cannot rise into space. The scientists maintain that the coal, oil, and gas we've been burning for 100 years have produced more and more carbon dioxide and helped overheat the earth. Now, some political leaders endorse the demands for more CO2 monitoring stations, like this one in Hawaii. And they share the anger of the scientists at Reagan administration budget cuts at a time when they feel closer to getting definitive answers.
We are not doing the kind of research that we should be doing to determine whether or not these scientists who are so alarmed are correct in their.
And this is the thing I always criticize mainstream media for, is that they act almost like a knowledge filter, right? And my thing has been, my biggest problem with the media is I believe they're a bad, distribution of knowledge, because they only want to distribute one side of the knowledge, aka people who are pro-climate agenda, pro these catastrophic predictions, but they never want to platform climate skeptics. Every time you have a debate, and I have numerous of these debates on my channel, just all you have to do is look up climate change on my channel and you'll find some videos. You'll see time and time again, a lot of these people who push for this stuff, like Al Gore and all this stuff, they don't really quite understand what the hell they're talking about. And a lot of these predictions are nothing more than theories. Theories that they want us to spend $1 trillion just so it doesn't even prevent the very thing. For instance, Canada. Canada spent all this money to stop climate change, and did it stop climate change? No, but you're out of $1 trillion though. And this is the concern that many climate skeptics have about redoing our whole system just to appease something that was never really directly affected by us. And that's the problem I think climate change people are having a hard time getting across. Because in reality has shown us time and time again that these people are projecting a view that essentially gives them more power. And some skeptics even say that a lot of these people are using climate change as an excuse to give more draconian power to the government so that way they can control and regulate what we do in our own personal life. AKA California saying you can't have gas-powered stoves in your apartments, in your town, in your house. People see this as a means to an end to gain more government power over your life, more government having more control and influence over your life. And you'll see here with the CNN host here, as she pushes, right? Because I told you about this, a lot of people in mainstream media, a lot of them are liberal, a lot of them believe in this climate religion, and you're going to see her push this, and you're going to see Lee Zeldin kind of push back and saying, hey, this catastrophic assumption you have about how the climate is going to go, I can't use that as a pretext to enact government power and policy on the masses. This has to be something Congress does. But the problem with this stuff is the climate change people do not want to have a debate over this stuff, because it's, in my estimation, and so far all the clips I show on this channel, you have a record of this, I have not seen any substantive argument. Oh my God, we had the hottest year ever in 2023. And then you find out the hottest year ever was not even a degree. Like, it's not even a full degree.
Welcome back to State of the Union. It's called the endangerment finding. It's a landmark scientific determination that planet warming pollution from fossil fuels endangers human health. And since 2009, it's formed the bedrock for the EPA's ability to regulate greenhouse gas emissions. But that's set to all change after the Trump administration announced plans to reverse that ruling, effectively gutting the federal government's ability to combat climate change. Joining me now is EPA Administrator Lee Zeldin, who has been traveling the country in part to promote this move. Mr. Administrator, thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate your time. I do want to start with the fundamental question that's at the heart of all this. I mean, do you accept the overwhelming scientific consensus that these greenhouse gas emissions are the biggest drivers of man-made climate change?
So this whole setup from her, this is why I called the climate change stuff the green religion, right? And I think many conservatives call that. I'm not the first one to, I guess, bring up that term, green religion, because it says, hey, do you trust our priests, the scientists, these scientists in these fields who have political interests, who have financial interests, maybe a status interest in having many people believe in their catastrophic theories, even though for 43 years, over 60 years, they've been wrong about how the climate change will go. Hey, we're going to blow up into blue smoke if we don't do something about climate change. 60 years later, no one's turning into blue smoke yet. This is the problem that people are having with the climate change stuff, is that they want us to accept their theories, their predictions, when none of their predictions ever pan out the way that they thought it would. They talk about, oh, look, these areas are increasing in temperature. Then you find out, yeah, when you live in a highly dense populated city, residential heat, it will increase temperature compared to more spread out and open. Duh. Have you ever been in a house packed up with a bunch of people? When there's only 4 people in a house, your AC works fine. But when you got 20, 30 people in your house and you're a 1-story house, it gets really hot. Makes sense. Makes sense. But they think from a city level, oh my God, look at the temperatures are rising in the cities. This is the type of stuff that climate skeptics bring out. And climate changers, they have a hard time really debating these points. I digress, though. We kind of know where this video is going to end up. So I'm going to skip just a little bit ahead to get to his actual answer after the intro.
His vehicles, CNN's been using a lot of photos where they show smokestacks of stationary sources like power plants. That's not what we proposed. Now, going back to 2009, the science that they were reviewing included both optimistic to pessimistic scenarios. To reach the 2009 endangerment finding, they relied on the most pessimistic views of the science. The great news is that a lot of the pessimistic views of the science in 2009 that was being assumed ended up not panning out. Hey, that's great. We can rely on 2025 facts as opposed to 2009 bad assumptions. The other thing, too, is that at EPA, we don't just get to creatively make the law whatever we want it to be. The Supreme Court ruled in Loper Bright, overturning the Chevron doctrine, West Virginia versus EPA, Michigan versus EPA, that agencies like the EPA can't just use vague language in statute and try to make it be whatever we want it.
And this again goes back to the liberal projection fallacy, right? Liberals will come out and say, make an assumption about something, and they expect us to all just go along with it without any pushback, without any questions, right? Or you're a bad person, or you're a climate change denier. No, you can't prove your crap. That's your problem. Because any little bit of scrutiny, any little bit of questioning, your premise can't take questions. Your premise can't take skepticism. And these are the people who try to brown nose and look down on you for questioning these assumptions they have about the climate. Oh, global warming, this carbon emissions, that. You have to give us power so we can save the world. You dramatic liberals, what's wrong with the whole climate change stuff. Because like what Lee Zeldin said, hey, we're playing out different scenarios, and many of these people take the most pessimistic scenario. Why? Because they're trying to drum up fear, concern, anxiety. Do you know that millennials and Gen Z, they suffer from something called climate anxiety? Now, I want to ask you this premise. If we find out that climate change was something is an exaggerated catastrophe, which it seems to be, with a 60-year track record where not a single prediction has come true about the climate, yet we're causing climate anxiety in our young people over predictions from these so-called climate experts who, if you look at their track record about how many predictions they've done over a course of 100 years, they're 0 for 60, 0 for 70. They haven't gotten a single prediction right, yet you're causing climate anxiety in our youth. Is this a bad thing or a good thing? Let me know in the comment section.
To be the major policy doctrine also says that when you're going to reach something like an endangerment finding and then have trillions of dollars of regulation, that's something that should be decided by our elected members of Congress in passing statute. And if you don't mind, the 2009 endangerment finding, while it's simply summed up now as saying carbon dioxide endangers public health and welfare, that's not what they did back in 2009. They had a lot of mental leaps. They say carbon dioxide, when mixed with a whole bunch of other well-mixed gases, in some cases not even emitted from mobile sources, they say that it contributes to global climate change. Doesn't say causes, contributes. How much they don't say, but it's north of zero, not much more than zero.
So you're sounding pretty
global
skeptical
climate
then
change
of this overall scientific consensus that these greenhouse gas emissions are the
We already know consensus is the dream world, the dream word of the liberal. Building consensus is building consensus, is having consensus the truth. And this is what a skeptic will ask you. Just because everyone believe in a lie, does that make it true? If you go to Cuba where they force you to say 2 + 2 = 5, does that make it true because it's a consensus? Oh, majority of Cubans think that 2 + 2 = 5. Does that make it a consensus? Does that make it true? No, it doesn't make it true. And this is the problem. This is why I've talked about that liberals and people on the left, they fight for public perception. While many other people who are not Democrats, who are not liberal, who are not leftists, they fight for what's in reality. And what's in reality? 100 years of a track record of being wrong about these catastrophic climate predictions. Yet you want us to make policy. You want our youth, you want our young people to be anxious over this stuff. Make it make sense. You don't have the track record to justify this level of trust. This is my point as a climate skeptic.
the overwhelming man-made climate change driver?
That might be your way to try to twist my words, but what I'm saying is that we get our power at EPA from what the law states, and the Supreme Court in recent cases have been very clear. So what I was just describing with all the mental leaps used in the 2009 endangerment finding, Section 202 of the Clean Air Act doesn't allow all of these different mental leaps, as the Supreme Court made clear in recent years. So I'm not going to get creative with the law. We're going to read the plain language. And if Section 202 of the Clean Air Act gets amended by Congress, then we'll follow that new law.
Exactly. But, I'm starting to believe more and more that the whole climate change stuff is nothing more than a means to an end, a means to centralize power, the means to regulate people's lives, to control what they do, what they have access to, what they don't have access to. You see it all around the world, all across the EU. EU trying to ban gas-powered cars, trying to force people to use public transportation. I don't see it. Like, you want us to spend all this money on a problem that could be a problem, but there's no evidence suggesting that it's trending in the direction that you want. And I think climate changers, that's why I like to call people who believe in climate change or who believe this catastrophic doomsday prediction to the point where they're saying they're not having kids because of climate change, right? Oh, I don't want my kids to be whatever. I think that climate changers, they get more mad about people having skepticism or doubts about these climate change predictions. But who can you blame people who have doubts, such as myself, when you see that, oh, when I go back 60 years, they're saying some of the stuff, and then I'm living the reality now, and I'm like, is nowhere near what they were predicting in 1982. 25% of Florida will be underwater if we do nothing about it, and Reagan cut the government. That sounds familiar, what Trump is doing, right? Aren't they doing the same thing? Aren't they running the same game? They have not changed their playbook since 1982. Fearmonger about when you cut down the government, trying to pretend that the government was doing some great thing. Oh my God, we were researching to stop a catastrophe. They call having hurricanes in Florida an extreme weather event when Florida's been dealing with hurricanes since the beginning of time. Ridiculous. It's like when California experienced earthquakes, and I'm like, oh my God, extreme weather events. No, it's something that we just live with. It's just life. It's just reality. Hurricanes has always been here. Earthquakes has always happened. It's nothing new. It hasn't been due to climate change and whatever ridiculous nonsense that people want to attribute it to. And this is my problem. Oh, Kenny, how can you deny the fact that there's more property damage year over year? Yeah, because we keep building expensive stuff. You're not accounting inflation, increasing the value or the cost of everyday materials when it comes to building a house. So of course, when a hurricane hit Florida in 2025, it's going to have more property damage compared to a hurricane hitting Florida in 1942. But this is the kind of cherry picking that I talk about. How these people reframe these things to try to drum up fear and anxiety, so that way you make a rash, emotional decision and give up power to the state, and they use and abuse it. And this is what the EPA is trying to essentially say: hey, we should not be allowed to make creative wordplay, word games to justify us overreaching our power, overreaching our boundary and stated. This is something that Congress should be doing, not the EPA. But this is how much the left love power. But I digress. I'll leave it up there. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, how you felt about Lee Zeldin's answers and questions to the CNN pushing climate change propaganda. And in my comment section, I wanted to ask people this question. Do you believe that a lot of the climate change prediction is propaganda to force people to be in an emotional state where they just give up rights and power to the government? I'd like to hear your thoughts and perspective on that premise. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Please share this video if you feel so inclined. It really does help me out in the algorithm. And I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.